Hey guys, it's Zero here, and I'm just gonna change the camera angle a bit. There we go. I'm filming this on fucking, I don't know, a Monday. What's today's date? Very, very professional, I know. Monday, August 20th. This is the first real chance I've had to do like a vlog thing about this, and I wanted to talk about this because I'm sure it's aware, but if you're not aware, my favorite game franchise of all time is Mega Man. There's a poster up here that I got from my buddy Blonde Guy Gamer for the 20th anniversary. Thank you, Blondie. I love this poster. And you'll be seeing some of that in an upcoming review I'm working on. I'm working on a review that's been in the works for about a year. But I'm just now getting to working on the video part where I'm actually getting it done. The reason it's taken a year is because there's a skit in it, a very important skit, because it's an anniversary review. So, but I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about Mega Man and where he's at. Some of you might remember back in 2009, I think it was late 2009 when they announced Mega Man 10, that I said, okay, we've had enough of the 8-bit Mega Man. Like, 9 was great, let's move on to something else. I think what I said was, and I'd been talking about this for years already, like in vlogs and rants and stuff on my rant and vlog channel, that rather than getting a Mega Man 10, or at that time I said, rather than getting a Mega Man 10, I'd like to have a Mega Man Legends 3. It's the one game that I wouldn't shut up about for years. And I regret what I said back then, because I ended up getting Mega Man 10 and I enjoyed it more than 9. Yes, I liked Mega Man 10 more than 9. I think it's a superior game. I think it's a much better game. I think it's more polished. Suck it, haters. That's all I'm saying, because Mega Man 9 is difficult for some of the wrong reasons, and the level design is not nearly as good. 10 is very polished. And yeah, it has an easy mode, but that's for people. It's to get people who never played Mega Man into it, because a lot of kids these days won't play a game like that because it's too hard. You know, it takes nothing to be skillful at Call of Duty, but it takes a lot to be skillful in Mega Man, especially in this day and age. So that was basically made for the people who thought Mega Man was too hard and wanted to be able to complete the game. So, but I really like Mega Man 10. It's one of my favorites of the original series. Notice how I said original series, because there's the original X, Legends, Star Force, Battle Network, Zero, ZX, and whatever else they decide to do. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I haven't really talked about Legends 3 yet, and to you guys, and I feel like it's time I do, because I'm sure, as I've already said, and I'm sure most of you know, when they announced Legends 3 finally, I was hyped. Like, seriously hyped, really hyped. First time I've been hyped for a game in forever. Like, I will never be that hyped again for a game, because it's from one of my favorite franchises and one of my favorite series in the franchise. I can honestly say that if I had to pick my top 3 Mega Man games, because I did a top 10 list years ago that people hated, and I don't fully agree with what I put on the list. If I had to pick my top 3 Mega Man games, I would pick, for third, I would pick Mega Man Legends. For second, I would put Mega Man 7. And for first, I would put Mega Man X. Those are my 3 favorite. And yeah, notice how they're all from different franchises too. And I didn't do that on purpose, because that's how I feel about those games. And I mean, I did a review on Mega Man 7, and a lot of people don't like it, and I'll admit it's not a perfect game. but it's very entertaining and I like it. And I used to have number 2. I used to hold 2 in high regard, but I've played it so much that I don't really see why I thought it was so good. It's a simple game, and that's nothing wrong with that, but it's not. It doesn't hold to me as much as Mega Man 7 does, because 7 offered a lot, and I really enjoy 7. 7, if I had to pick a Mega Man game from the original series, 7 be one of the first ones I would pick up. Unless I played it recently, but I haven't played it since late last year, so it's been a while. Or early this year, I can't remember. It's been a while. So yeah, I was hyped when Mega Man Legends 3 was announced, because I had been asking for this game for years. Like, at this point, you probably, some of you understand, but probably most of you don't even understand how much I wanted this game. However, I'm going to get into a few things. First of all, I haven't beaten Mega Man Legends 2 before. Some of you know that I started an LP on it. I don't know when I'm getting back to that because I'm stuck. And I will get back to it, I promise, because I want to finish the game. That was a reason for me. An LP's a reason for me to finish some games. Like, up to that point, I don't even think I completed Paper Mario. I think I got fairly far in it and I gave up. So that's one of my accomplishments, that I beat Paper Mario. But I knew where everything was, because before I got into Let's Plays, I used to watch my brother play video games in this room. So you could say, like I know endings to a lot of games, like Knights of the Old Republic. I know how it ends, or one of the endings, or several of the endings, because my brother played it several times, different paths. But I never played it myself, just because I wasn't that into it. But back to the point. I knew what the ending to Legends 2 was, not because my brother had beaten it, because he didn't get very far in that. I actually have gotten farther than him in that. But I was interested in the story so much that I didn't care if I spoiled myself. So, and I thought, well, that's a really, really good, that's a good idea for an ending, like, for a cliffhanger. I wonder what they're going to do for the next one, because at this point, the PlayStation 2 was, like, in everybody's mind, so my thought was, like, I can't wait to see this on PS2, like, what's gonna happen? And then we didn't get a game then we didn't get the next game. And I like, anytime I think of Mega Man, like, I would think of Mega Man, every so often in my head would be like, I wonder when we're gonna get a Legends 3. And I remember back in, I think it was 2008, 2009, I'm not exactly sure, when Mr. Inafune said, Keiji Inafune said that he would need something like, I don't know, like, I forget what it was. I think it was like 15 million to make Legends 3 happen, and that Capcom wasn't willing to put up that kind of budget. I jumped on it because I thought, well, 15 million, I mean, like, pardon me if I'm wrong, but that's not that much to make a AAA title, especially one from a game franchise, a huge game franchise from Capcom. Because, like, I was comparing it to Final Fantasy VII, which cost at the time I say, 150 million to make, just that game. Mind you, it was a breakthrough for Final Fantasy. But Final Fantasy and Mega Man are different. So I thought 50 million, that's not that much for a AAA title. So, and when I say AAA, I mean mainstream video game, because that's what people call AAA games, or hardcore games these days. If it's like a big seller, or it's in with the other mainstream games, that's what people refer to them as. So, I think I also remember him saying that the reason that Inafune originally helped develop the engine for Lost Planet, and he had always intended it be used for Mega Man, specifically Mega Man Legends, because he had been planning to do 3 for a long time at this point. So I thought, well, Lost Planet did fairly well, and it's getting at the time, like, it was getting a sequel. I was like, it seems like a no-brainer, like a Mega Man Legends 3. But the thing is, I wasn't thinking, like, sales numbers and how the first two games did, because the first two games and Misadventures of Trombone weren't hits. They weren't big hits. They technically became greatest hits for PlayStation, but they weren't huge mega hits. They didn't even compare to the sales numbers, I think, of the original Mega Man games or other games of the franchise. So instead we got a bunch of Battle Network games and a couple of Zero sequels and other stuff with Mega Man. Mega Man at this point was still producing at least a game or two every year. And so back to Legends 3. Mega Man had 3 games in the works when I think Legends 3 came out. Legends was one of them. Before it was Mega Man Universe, which my buddy Jakato X actually got to play at a convention. I found a video. He didn't film. It wasn't filmed by. It was filmed by him, but it wasn't him who uploaded it. I found a video, and I thought I heard his voice, and he confirmed that it was him. So I found a video of him filming somebody else playing Universe, and he said he got to play it and told me what it was like. Which was another game that I was excited for because it was a new way of doing Mega Man, and I really wanted to play that. So I'm kind of jealous that he got to play it and I didn't. But Universe, Legends 3, and Rockman Online were the 3 games that were in development at the time. And at this point, at this current time that I'm recording this, I think Rockman Online is still in production, but it's only so far it's only been slated for release in Korea and Japan, because it's being developed by a Korean MMO developer, which I don't know any information on. And I heard that their staff was cut down to like 50 people, so they're probably trying to work harder with less people, which can be trouble. So I remember Mega Man Universe was like, I hadn't heard anything about Universe for like a long time, and I thought, where's the game? And on March 31st, I think it was March 31st, like basically the day before April Fool's Day, or like a couple hours before April Fool's Day, they announced that Mega Man Universe was canceled. And like everybody else, I thought it was an April Fool's Day joke. Or I said, I hope this is an April Fool's Day joke, because I want to play this game. I can't believe they would put all this stuff into it, work all this content into it, and just cut it dry. But yeah, the other thing I thought of was like, well, they haven't said anything for like months about it, so there hasn't been any new trailers in a while. They haven't put any new promotional material. There's been nothing. So and then when they came out and said no, it's not a joke, the game's canceled, I thought, okay, I guess that makes sense why that got canceled. And then that's the first time I was starting to get worried about the future of Legends 3, because at this point Legends 3 had been like, it'd been the most promoted Mega Man game of the 3 that they were working on. So they've been putting like having fans submit stuff for it. They were letting the fans like pick the voice actors. They were letting them pick the designs of characters. We were given a lot of freedom in the making of these games, and I participated as much as I could. But most of the stuff they were calling out for were like people who could draw, like artists, and I think there was one contest where you could do a video, and Jakato and I were working on one, but it never came to be because I got so busy, he got so busy. I was in like keep in mind, this was last year around April, which in Canada, at least to the college I went to, it was crunch time. It was the last month of school. I graduated. I was basically going to be done school at midway through this month, and I had a giant project to work on, so I couldn't submit for anything like that. So Jakato and I had thought about doing something, but we never did. So they were really, really all about fan participation on Mega Man Legends 3. I just wasn't able to personally participate on as much as I would have liked. And then it happened. Just a few days after they, I think, they said, okay, let me get back to here. Before I get to that, they said they were going to release the prototype, which would have been 30% of production time and costs and all that. Basically, they were going to use the prototype as a, like, testbed prequel to see if the game would do alright. And they said people who had a 3DS, they had to pay something like $2 to get the prototype. And I was telling everybody, and if you have a 3DS, you get this prototype. It's $2, do me a favor, whatever. And when they delayed it, I think by a week or so, the prototype coming out, I was starting to think again, I'm like, oh no, they're not gonna, there's no way they're gonna cancel this. Like, I started thinking, maybe they'll cancel it. Like, I was like, and I thought, like, no, I convinced myself, I'm like, there's no way this is getting canceled. I think it was only a couple days after they went on a Japanese television show where they previewed the game. And we finally got to see gameplay footage, and I thought, oh, great, finally, some gameplay footage. I'm like, this is great, the game's actually going somewhere. There's no way this is getting canceled. And then it happened. They canceled the game. How I felt about that at first... Now, you guys have to remember, this is my favorite game franchise of all time. Mega Man is. And Legends was one that was so well done that I couldn't wait for another sequel. I've been talking about it for years. Like I said, I've been talking about this thing for years. I was upset. I was disappointed. And I was past the point of return with this company. With Capcom. Now, keep in mind, there's a couple things. They never greenlit the project. Which, I don't understand why you would involve the public in something that's not guaranteed. Why would you do that? Like, did they think that if they involved us, that the game would get greenlit? That they had potential one-day sales? And maybe they did. I'm pretty sure people were like, yeah, like, people who are supporting this are doing it, but they were saying stuff like the reason it was canceled because there wasn't a lot of people in dev room, on the online dev room, there wasn't that many servbot numbers signed up, and the servbot numbers thing was a mess. Let me just talk about a minute here about Capcom Unity's website. It's terrible. It's completely awful. I'm a web designer. That was one of my first professions. Their website, Capcom Unity, is awful. It's laggy, it's buggy. Half the time the pages don't load because of their flash bar or their Meebo thing. Their website is a mess. It's an absolute mess, and I had to have Jacato. Let me tell you this. Jacato walk me through signing up to be a serve bot when I did it. I did it because he told me about it. Let's see, they didn't advertise it that well. He told me. He had to tell me about it. And he had to walk me through it because it wasn't self-explanatory on the site. And they made a tutorial afterwards, after the game was canceled, how to become a serve bot, because they've left the dev room open. And people started signing up to be a serve bot. So they didn't make it user-friendly to begin with. To, like, even to me, who, like, will deal with the most broken-ass shit, I had no idea how to do it. I had to have, like I said, Jacato walk me through it. If somebody who designs sites and, you know, is used to, like, buggy, laggy stuff, whatever, has trouble signing up for your site, how's the average person gonna be able to do it? Because, how do they do it? Because, let me let you in on something I learned when I went to school for web design. A teacher, like, hammered this into us when we went, and he said, like, if a person gets to your website and it doesn't appeal to them, and they don't find the information they want, in 5 seconds, they're gone. And there's a reason why look, feel, and usability of a site are so important, because if you make a site of just basically information and you make it a certain way so only programmers will look at it, they'll be fine, they'll look at it. The average person isn't a programmer, they're not going to know where to go from a programming perspective. It's one of the other things about programming too, is why you have to leave notes in your programs, because whoever's going to be looking at your program isn't going to know how you programmed it unless they were taught the exact same way or they programmed the same way. They're not going to know how to do that. And that's partially how Capcom Unity's site feels like. The only reason I was able to navigate it is because I put up with refreshing the page 400 times to get certain things to work. I would intentionally stop the page in the middle of loading the Meebo app or whatever, the Flash or whatever was crashing it. Like, and the forums are even worse. You go to the forums and you want to go to a post. If you don't, a lot of the times, if I didn't stop it within the first few seconds of loading, the page would just not load. It would load the top bar, and then you'd wait and wait and wait, and it wouldn't load the rest of the site. I think it's a glitch in Flash, or it's a glitch in their Flash bar, or a glitch in, like I said, the Meebo app, which I don't even know why they have. I mean, most people, if you have a Meebo, you probably are using it for MSN, AIM, whatever, and if you have those, you already have the program to use it, so why use that? So that's one thing. Their site was a mess. The second was they didn't really give anything out to people who aren't really artists, and I thought one thing they were going to do was open up like a voice acting contest to play like a background character or something. That was something I could get into, because I do that stuff. So why did they never do that? There's tons of people who would have applied for that, to have a chance, not just Mega Man fans, but people who want a chance to basically get their break, like to be in something that was official. So I know tons of people who would have jumped on that, and they didn't do anything like that. And I could understand if they wanted to keep it all professional, but there's tons of people who are at the level of professionals that aren't, that haven't made their break yet. Like, just an example, Hokage Titan, or Peter Gerkman. Really good guy. He's with a company, I'm not going to say who, and they just haven't given him a role yet to give him his break as an actor. So that's another thing. They didn't really appeal to anybody. And the one thing I want to point out is, in one of their trailers, they said, and I quote, "But it's also okay to sit in the background too." So when they came off canceling the game and said we didn't have enough people who came into the dev room, why did you put in your trailer that it was okay to not be part of the dev room? What's the point? If you wanted people to join the dev room, you shouldn't have put that in your trailer. Like, I forgot that was in there, but I'm sure there are tons of people who are like, oh, okay, so I don't have to participate if there's nothing I can really do for it. It wasn't like... I think the intention was to get the people who were, who really did want to be part of the game to be in it, and they didn't want everybody who wanted the game. They just wanted the ones who wanted to contribute something to it, and that's fine. But don't penalize all the people who said, "Oh, it's okay if you don't want to participate in this," and then point the finger and be like, well, you should have signed up for the dev room and got a Servbot number and voted on the polls and posted in the forum and taken part in the contest. And because I didn't take part in all the contests. I voted on all the polls. And I didn't post in the forums. That was a big one too. So I was under the impression that I was doing my part enough by, you know, voting on things and voicing my opinion when it was asked. And that's what I did. Apparently that was not it. So okay, Legends 3 is gone, and the whole Get Me Off the Moon thing has been great. I've been supporting it. If you watch my reviews, you see it at the end of all my reviews. It's over 100K now, and Capcom really hasn't said anything. What's his name? Sven's no longer with Capcom. He's with Sony, a company with Sony now. And Sven was really the only person, or the main person, when the game got canceled, you know, making sure all the questions were answered by fans, making sure that he was basically the interaction between the company and the fan. When he left Capcom, I thought, well, that's it, unless we can get somebody as good as him. But he also endured a lot of criticism too, because people were like, well, we're not getting answers. But you gotta understand, that's a hard job for somebody. When you're in between the company and the fan, how do you work at a compromise, even if it's just asking questions? As of this point, like I said, the only game that I can think of the three that started development, I think in late 2010 or late 2011, is Rockman Online. And again, they have not posted any plans on bringing it to North America or anywhere outside Japan or Japan and Korea, which is unfortunate because it looks like a great game, and even though it probably wouldn't do amazing over here, I could still see a lot of people getting into it just for the online aspect. So that's Legends 3, and I actually have a theory why Mega Man's been going even more farther downhill, but we'll get to that. So 2011's about to end, and the only thing Mega Man has had come out were re-releases. Like they put Mega Man World or Rockman World, which is the Game Boy game, on the 3DS Virtual Console. Minor like merchandise buzz and stuff like that. And then we get something that really, really pissed me off. Like, you know, like Capcom had a bad 2011. They made bad decisions. Devil May Cry fans weren't happy with them. Ace Attorney fans weren't happy with them. Mega Man fans definitely weren't happy with them. I was pissed off about Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and the bullshit with that. But that's another video. Monster Hunter fans were unhappy with them. That includes me, because I am a hardcore Monster Hunter fan as well. And just generally, like, every franchise, almost every franchise they had, the fan base was not happy. Like Resident Evil, they released that game, what was it? Mercenaries, or I can't remember the name of it, but 3DS gave them a you had one save. They had the whole fiasco with let's see if I can remember. Lost Planet 2 didn't do that well. It wasn't that good of a game. Apparently, again, I don't play it. It was just a series, like Professor Layton versus Ace Attorney wasn't getting localized. Like, just a slew of things that they just... It seemed like somebody in there was there just to piss people off. Another version of Street Fighter, which technically was just a download for anybody who had Arcade Edition. But them making Arcade Edition when they said Super was the last version of Street Fighter 4 didn't help. So, they basically... Street Fighter 4 is just another Street Fighter 2 at this point, so... it was not a good year for them, and before the year had to end, in December, before the year had to end, they had to let out one more bad thing from Mega Man. And that was the iOS port of... It's not really a port, I guess, because if it was a port, it would have been better, of Mega Man X. Now, yes, it was a seller. It's one of the highest sold things in the iOS store, but I think that's just because Mega Man's name's on it. That's the only reason I see why, because when I saw the initial gameplay footage for this, and there's still people posting gameplay footage, I thought this is stuff that should have been that they fixed years ago in like the 80s and 90s. So now we're moving back to loading between screens. DLC for things that are unlockable in the game. DLC for armor and health and sub-tanks. Ugh. It pisses me off just thinking about it. And of all the platforms to put the game on, you pick the iOS? I mean, yeah, touchscreen games have gotten way better, but they're nowhere near as good enough yet to put a game like Mega Man X on there. And the only thing I remember about it is saying the graphics look better, but it just looked like a really, really poorly done Flash game. It's because that's what it is. So, one more thing at the end of the year to piss everybody off, and it's just like, that's my favorite Mega Man game, okay? They ruined it that way. Like, I can still play the Super Nintendo version or one of the other versions, but to a lot of people, that's where they started with the X series with that game, and the iOS version is just shit. Okay, so fast forward, we're in 2012 now. The movement for Legends 3 is still going strong. It's finally gotten over 100,000 people. It's Mega Man's 25th anniversary. And as of now, they've announced one game. Let me say that again. They've announced one game. And it's not for a console. It's not for a handheld like the Vita or 3DS. It's another iOS game. Mega Man Crossover, which is a game crossing over several Mega Mans and a new one. And it's a social RPG. Now, I like the idea of a Capcom crossover and an RPG, because they did it before with Namco X Capcom, and that's a really good game that unfortunately never got released outside of Japan. But so I first thought, okay, RPG, that's fine. Crossover RPG, that's fine. They've done a lot of those. They've done a few of those. Here's the problem, though. It's on the iOS again. A limited platform that uses touchscreen controls. I have no hopes for this game at all. First of all, I don't own an iOS device, and I never want one. Maybe an iPad, but that's a stretch because I don't like iTunes. I'm not a big fan of Apple products. I have a Mac, and it's like, it's pushing 10 years old now. That's how much I care about Apple. When I was debating on whether I was debating earlier this year on getting either a getting either an iPhone or an Android phone when I upgrade my phone, and I would decide to go Android because I like the open source of the Android. Yes, it has way less apps, but I like the freedom it has. If you jailbreak your iPhone, you're basically committing a sin in their eyes. Like, they won't even let you modify programs in it. So, and my friends asked me, we were all sitting there talking about this, so does this make you want to switch to getting an iPhone? I'm just like, no. I'm not going to switch phones for one game. Keep in mind, I bought systems for one game before. I bought the PSP for Monster Hunter. And PSP has some really good games too, but I mostly play Monster Hunter on it. If the game gets announced for Android, which it probably won't because it seems to be they have some kind of deal with Apple, I guess, I might try it. but I have no hopes for crossover. When I heard the news, I thought, is this the best they can do? Is this actually the best they can do with this franchise? Now, you think about Mega Man. He's been in hundreds of games. He was the series that made Capcom, because before then they had a couple hits but nothing groundbreaking. Mega Man and Street Fighter are the two things that basically put Capcom, made Capcom a major player. What's going on with him there? With Capcom and Mega Man? Like, what is actually going on? This is going to be a long blog. This is going to be like a Spoon... Well, no, not as long as Spoonie's blog. His take like an hour. But I literally want to know what is actually going on at Capcom, because I have... Okay, this is a theory that I have, that I've told my brother about and my friends about, that Keiji Inafune, in the middle of starting the 3 Mega Man projects, left Capcom because he just felt like he wasn't able to pursue what he wanted. And I respect him for that decision, because it seems now he's doing a lot better. He's got this new pirate game he's working on, and it looks cool. Not totally interested in it, but it looks neat. And he sort of wanted to leave Mega Man in the very capable hands of the new production crew. I found out later that one of the CEOs at Capcom currently, one of the CEOs, like one of the head honchos, did minor work on Mega Man 5. And now, I have a couple theories about this. First one is this guy just didn't like Mega Man. Or he didn't like Inafune. And the only reason the franchise kept going is because he was there. In my opinion. So when Inafune left the company, this guy, again, and I don't know his name, this guy who's a CEO, one of the CEOs, or one of the people on the board of directors at Capcom, probably wanted to do everything he could to kill Mega Man. This is just a theory, but let me tell you why I have this theory, because some of you are probably being like, well, that's an outrageous theory. Why would you say that? In Japan, business is very different. And I'm not going to sound like I understand how business in Japan works. But this is just where I got my theory. Gunpei Yokoi, if you remember him, he invented the Game Boy. He made Metroid 2. The guy made, like, hit after hit for Nintendo. Then he made the Virtual Boy. And it tanked. It tanked very bad. Now, in Japan business, this is what I've heard. I don't know if this is 100% true. In business in Japan, you can have as many successes as you want, but the one time you make a flop, you're an outcast to everyone. I heard that nobody wanted to talk, after the Virtual Boy came out, nobody wanted to talk to Gunpei Yokoi at work, and it just got to the point where he felt like it wasn't worth it to come in and make stuff for them anymore, so he left Nintendo, and went on to make the Wonder Swan and Wonder Swan Color before he unfortunately died. If this is true, if this is a true true fact about Japanese business, this guy could just be holding a grudge and doing what he can to make sure that nothing good happens with Mega Man. Oh, sure, he'll let people make social games or ISO games, because those are... that's just free money to them. Like, those don't take that much to develop. They don't cost that much to sell, and they can make a decent amount off of them. I mean, look at Mega Man X. It sold well in the iOS shop for some reason. And maybe... And here's another theory I have, too. Maybe they're just trying to make Mega Man into a social media thing now. And try to forget him with consoles or anything. Trying to forget his history. That's... Okay, if you're trying to rebrand this franchise, that's fine. But this franchise has a long history, dating back to the mid-'80s. Or the late '80s. Regardless of whether or not you acknowledge the history or not, it's going to get brought up. It's not something you can ignore. And I think that what needs to happen is someone needs to step in. Someone needs to step in at Capcom and say, look, we need a hit title for Mega Man. We can't... Social games are fine to get us by, but we need, like, a console game for him. Because when has he had a AAA game on a console? When was the last time he had one? I can't think of a single game that was... You'd go to the store, buy it on disc. I think the last thing we had was... I can't think of one from this generation. The last thing I can think of is, like, Mega Man X8 on the PlayStation 2. Or Command Mission. I could be wrong, like, I could be missing something, but you know, from the last generation and this current generation, I haven't seen, like, anything that's been, like, other than, like, a compilation or a download, which those are still games and they're fine, but I haven't seen, like, a $60, game with, like, a Mega Man game with, like, a huge game budget behind it. I haven't seen that yet. That's what he needs to continue. And I just the way Capcom's been acting with stuff, you know, saying stuff like Resident Evil's better as a shooter because that sells. Well, people who buy Resident Evil don't buy it because it's a shooter. They buy it because it's a horror game. Like, that's where the game started. Like, that's where its roots are. That's why people buy Resident Evil. They don't buy it because it's an action game. Maybe some people do, but most people who think Resident Evil, they think virus outbreaks and, you know, jump scares and shit like that. That's Resident Evil to them, to Resident Evil fans. And you could argue that Mega Man's old, that he hasn't hit his stride, he hasn't hit a new stride, and hasn't been able to convert properly over to the new the new game types. But at the same time, Capcom hasn't made an effort to do so yet. And as we're getting to the end of this console generation, that being said, because the Wii U is going to be coming out at the end of this year, apparently, we have a new generations of consoles coming out. If Mega Man doesn't get a game on these consoles, like a AAA game, like with a big budget and everything, the franchise is probably over. And I don't want that. I want to see him have a new game and have it be good. But at this point, the last major Mega Man game that came out was Mega Man 10, and that was 2 years ago. So I'm going to end this video off by something that I was inspired by SCR to do. This is my open letter to Capcom. Are you going to do anything with the Mega Man franchise anytime soon? And if not, how much do you want for it? How much is it worth to you? Now, this isn't Bloody Roar. This franchise still has games coming out, technically. But what is it worth to them? But anyways, that's it. I'm sorry this was a long video. I just wanted to get this out there because I've been asked before by a lot of people where I am on this, where I stand on this whole thing, and I felt it was time to really discuss where I am with it. So this is Zero. I'm out. Look forward to my reviews. Check out the website, rivercitygamers.wordpress.com. And let's hope something happens with Mega Man. Peace.